This is the historic chateau of Chenonceau. Chenonceau is called the Chateau of Women because at one time, at various times, it's been occupied by 5 different queens, one of whom was Mary Queen of Scots. It's also the only chateau that completely spans the River Loire.
The gardens of Chenonceau were designed by Catherine de Medici and Diane de Poitiers. This one by Diane de Poitiers.
During the First World War, Monsieur Gaston Meunier, owner of Chenonceau, installed a hospital whose different services occupied all of the chateau's rooms. During the Second World War, many people took advantage of the gallery, whose southern door that you can see at the end of this picture provided access to the South Bank free zone, whilst the chateau's entrance behind us was in the North Bank in the occupied zone.
This bedroom was used by Diane de Poitiers, mistress of King Henry II, to whom he gave Chenonceau. In 1559, when King Henry II was killed in single combat during a tournament, his widow, Catherine de Medici, ordered Diane to give her back Chenonceau. In exchange, Diane de Poitiers was given Chateau de Chaumont. This pagoda was built in 1775 and is almost 150 feet high.
The famous castle, now vanished of course, which belonged to the Duke of Choiseul, was destroyed in 1823 by the Black Band of rebels. In this castle in Amboise, Leonardo da Vinci spent the last years of his life. He was exiled from Italy and was given patronage in this area. The chateau has many of his paintings on display.
This medieval fortress was the residence of the Dukes of Sully. In 1652, the young King Louis XIV, with his mother Anne of Austria and accompanied by Cardinal Mazarin, sought refuge there during an insurrection. The great Voltaire, who with his immoderate use of satire upset the regent and found himself exiled, but he was received here by the Duke of Sully, Maximilian Henry, in 1719.
This is the highest point of the town of Blois, at the entrance to the Cathedral of St. Louis. It's about 3 kilometres from where we stayed, and you can see the forested area in the background. The road goes straight over the Loire to the south bank, but equally, if you turn to the north, the road to Vendôme was equally well defined.
Early in the 16th century, Imbert de Peterne built Chateau de Montresor on the remains of an old medieval fortress. He was advisor to 4 French kings and lived here until his death at 85 years of age. In 1849, the chateau was purchased by a wealthy Polish count, Xavier Branicki, who restored it in a romantic style. He laid out the park and endowed the castle with innumerable treasures.
This chateau is one of the cosier castles that we saw. The interior reflects the entertainment given by Count Branicki to his guests. It shows the hunting, the fishing and the provision of fine food. In particular, I was impressed with a magnificent spiral staircase. Count Branicki was also a financial advisor to Napoleon III. And he did not lose his skills because he also incorporated the village in a substantial regeneration programme, and we dined at the very pretty Café de Ville for our lunch. Here in Vendôme, we were fascinated outside the Hôtel de Ville. Each day, the gardens reflect the date, and as you can see, we were there on the 21st of June 2008. If we'd visited tomorrow, it would have said the 22nd of June 2008. This spectacular entrance to Vendôme is the Gate of St. George, and I had that information directly from a Frenchman who was crossing the bridge when I was taking the photograph, and he decided he would talk to me, and he said at the end of the conversation, how appropriate that I should tell you, an English woman, that this is the Gate of St. George.
On this tower there is a memorial to honour the RAF, per ardua ad astra. We did not have an invitation to the wedding that was in progress as we visited this cathedral. Our trip to the Loire began at Nantes Airport, and we stayed here in Nantes for 2 nights at both ends of our holiday. Duchess Anne of Brittany, later to be Queen of France, from 1491 to 1514. A 1-hour train trip took us to the Atlantic coast and the village of Lake Quasset.
This was the prettiest seaside village on which to spend our last day. The marina was well filled, the cafes were well filled, and the flower beds were equally well filled and cared for.
And here we found the French, Campo and Cleggy, enjoying their favourite pastime. They just will not let me play.
And from the Quasset railway station we say au revoir to France.
Here.